right. Welcome everyone to a new episode of Beyond the Black Tag. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, all of the fun holiday things that happened in the past. Yes, we are late, but it is still a new year at the end of the day. We want to welcome you to this new year with this new episode and brand new Beyond the Black Tag starting off 2024. And we're kicking it off with a good guest, a good friend of mine. Currently my housemate. His name is Nathi Nocanda, originally from the Eastern Cape. So somehow I call him my brother because I grew up there. But other than that, I got to serve with him in the SAJM, South Africa Johannesburg mission. And, you know, that relationship has just come straight after into us being housemates and just helped us a lot. He saved me from a time of no money, and now we are enjoying all the money together in the house. So it's been super cool. But he knows we've gone through the most. But Nathi, dude, introduce yourself. Tell us about yourself. Tell us about the time that you served, something that you learned from your service, and just introduce yourself in general. Who are you? Who is Nathi Nocanda, and how is he doing?
Well, I guess you mentioned my name a lot. It's Nathi Nocanda. From the Eastern Cape, in a town called Queenstown. I believe it's where the Queens are from. I moved to Joburg in 2022 to work at the MTC. So I've been here for a while now. This is where I stay. I'm studying currently through Enzan College, a degree called medical coding. In South Africa, you might know it by clinical coding, right, and billing. I work for Takealot doing deliveries. At the same time, got other few plans, that I'm working on. But yeah, that's it about me. I served in the Johannesburg mission from 2019 to 2021. It was an interesting time of just it was normal when I started for 9 months, and then after that I was affected by COVID-19. So definitely there were a lot of changes there. I guess there's a lot of things that I learned, but the most thing I would really say is just understand who Jesus Christ is and the character of Christ, and learn how to imitate that and have that embedded within your heart. I guess that was the most thing that stood out to me, just really understanding Christ.
Yeah. And so in your experience in, I guess, on your mission and understanding Christ, how has that now come through after your mission? What has that done for you being here at this point?
I guess the most important thing is really decision making. I usually share this with people I'm around. You hear a lot of people saying, "What would Christ do in this situation?" Yeah. And it's totally a situation where you can see that Christ would probably stand for himself, like he did in the temple where he was, kicking down tables and stuff. All right. I guess it really helped me with decision making, knowing who I am and how my decisions need to shape that character, of Jesus Christ, how through my decision making, people need to also see, that this is a guy that, worships the Lord or believes in Jesus Christ. Right. So I guess that's the most important thing, decision making.
That's amazing, my brother. That's amazing. And I'm sure even the decision to serve a mission, right? You learned that before you went on a mission, or before you really acquired that skill. I wanted to ask, before Jeremy asked the question of maybe the lessons that came out of that experience, I wanted to get a feel as to what even made you decide to even go and serve, especially at a time when I feel like it's unpopular to do so, when your peers maybe might be going to school, but might be going to make money. Why give up that long time of your life to go serve? What made you decide to do that?
First of all, I have to say the grannies in the world, they played a very crucial role in that. Whenever you come to church, they would ask you, "So when are you going on mission?" So that definitely made mission be a thing that was instilled in my mind for me to think about. But I guess the most important thing was I enjoyed going out with the missionaries. I enjoyed teaching with the missionaries. I remember when I was doing grade 12, I think for straight up 3 months, they would pick me up from school and we'd go to lessons almost every day. Right. And I really just got to see how it's important for me to learn the gospel, and it's important for me to share the gospel. All right. And that was important because when I grew up, I had this idea of I don't need, God. I'm living a nice life. I'm enjoying life. Everything was just perfect. So I had this idea of I don't need God. I don't need to learn about God. I don't need to understand God. I'm just happy, with my family. All right. And so now, as I was growing out with the missionaries, that's something that I kind of picked up in certain people that made me really interested in sharing the gospel more. That everyone needs God. People need to believe in something, right? And God is that one thing that you can believe on, that that you never get disappointed. And so that's how it came about. But I'll give it to the grannies though.
All right. Well, we thank God for those grannies in Queenstown who kept you at bay. I'm gonna give out a little bit of I can't say this. Okay, without giving away too much, right? So very soon, I'll be engaged in that very topic, decision making, right? And so I'm quite curious, as I'm sure many others are, as I'm sure Jeremy is. You said one of the key lessons you learned was making decisions, right? How have you now implemented that, or in what ways can you tell that, okay, every day I'm making decisions and it's directly linked to the lessons I learned on mission?
I love mission taught us about key indicators, things to focus on. All right. And whenever you were making goals on mission, you would make your goals based on those key indicators. And the decisions you'd make on mission would mostly affect those key indicators. All right. And so a lot of decisions that I'm making, of course, are according to the goals that I have, things that I want to reach and accomplish. And so with me having my own key indicators, so that helps me to be able to make certain decisions that will take me there to where I want to get, right? And so those goals, of course, are different. You've got, academic goals in terms of school, the goals that you have. You've got, goals in terms of religion, the character that you want to kind of have, who you want to become, the things that you want to learn, just in general, maybe books you want to read and stuff like that, right? And so those decisions that you make have to go with your key indicators, what you want to focus on, what you want to become, right? And one other thing I guess I also want to touch on is decision making has allowed me to see the importance of taking risks, right? A lot of people are afraid to take it, but it's part of life, And sometimes they look at marriage as a risk. I'm like, marriage is a risk, man. You're getting married to this girl. That a lot of people, know you meet this girl for 6 months and you propose, you get married, you're gonna sleep in the same bed. You don't know what's gonna happen. This girl might kill you one time. But as long as you, so it's very important that we learn to also take risk, but of course, a very calculated risk, right? So I guess that's how it has happened. Just focus on those key indicators.
So, I don't think we talk about this enough as well. Did some of those goals and plans come from the last, I think, month or 2 months of doing my plan as well? Did that come out in any way? Did that help you a lot? Or was that just, it was on mission and then it was another plan after mission?
I guess my plan, I think, really helped me a lot. There were some parts of it that were shallow, especially when it comes to the dating part. And school, Because, I guess for school, I was like, okay, I'm going to apply school to that school, to that school, to that school. I didn't really get time to gather information in terms of those schools, right? But in terms of work, I still think about those goals even today, the ones that I set when I was in mission. This is what I wanted to do. This is what I want to become. Actually, even working at the MTC was part of my plan. So I definitely would like to work them to get that opportunity.
That's powerful. I don't know if Jeremy wanted to steal that, but I'd like to say I was after my mission. I wanted to serve in the MTC, right? I wanted to. I even like do the things, help with the recommendation with the MTC, and I know there's a lot of people, both brethren and sisters, who come back from their service and would like to be an MTC teacher, like you and Jeremy have been. How did you go about applying for that? And maybe somebody who would want to get into those footsteps, a missionary is finishing their service soon and would like to do that. What advice would you give them going into that path?
So actually, when I was doing my plan, one of the couple missionaries in the mission office, Sister Walker, right? We were just having a conversation. She was asking me about my plan. I was telling her my plan. I'm gonna get home, gonna look for a job, cause I finished my mission in July, right? So I'm like, okay. I'm gonna look for a job, until the next following year, and then the following year, then I'll go to school, right? And she recommended that the MTC is actually looking for teachers, to teach there, so you can apply there. I was like, oh wow, that's something I had initially thought about. So she gave me Sister Portia's email, and so I emailed Portia, I emailed my CV, I emailed the recommendation letter, right? And kind of an intro about myself, and why I would like to get the opportunity to work at MTC. And it took a while because I only got contacted in October, right, by the MTC saying, okay, now we've got space open for a new intake of teachers. And so then I was called to have an interview. I had the interview. And then they got back to me to say, okay, wait, we're just waiting for this teacher. Their contract is ending, in November. So then we'll give you a call, right? And I remember then I got the call in December, I think the 20th, no, the 27th of December, 2021, to say, can you start working at the MTC? And I think they gave me 3 days, right? No. Can you start working in 3 days? They actually wanted me to move to Joburg in 3 days, right? I was like, whoa, can't do that, give me at least 2 weeks, right? And so what happened is I started on the 31st of December online, right? So join over Zoom. And then my trainer was a sister from Cape Town who's in Trom. So she was my trainer. All right. And so that's the way you go about applying at MTC. I guess is 2 ways. You either get Sister Portia's email, which is she's the one who's in charge of the administration, right, and intake of teachers. Mm-hmm. And then when you send an email to her, you send your CV, you send the recommendation letter from your mission president, and kind of a bit of an intro about yourself and why you'd like to receive the opportunity to work at MTC, right? There's also an online platform where you can go to lds.org and you can check there the job opportunities they have. And MTC teachers always appear there, so you can also apply through there. And so with English, they kind of packed. They do take, probably 3 or 2, right? A time whenever contracts end, they take new teachers. But if you a language, and when I say language, if you maybe served a mission in Madagascar, they're looking for you anytime. You can apply today, I promise you, they will take you, right? So they're looking for teachers to teach Magasi, they're looking for teachers to teach Portuguese. So wherever you are, if you can speak Portuguese very well in Malagasy, please apply. They will take you. They need language teachers there.
That's beautiful.
I think the other important thing to add on top of that is they are generally looking for MTC teachers that are within a year home from mission. So you know, try your best to be a year home from mission. I mean, if not, I don't say don't give it a try. I say, you know, try your luck. Let's see. Maybe they'll say, we need you, especially if you're a language teacher, come through. So definitely, everyone give it a try. And I really believe that it's a blessing to work in the MTC. And so Nathi has come to the conclusion of his. He finished his contract December 31st of 2023. And he's now, you know, going out and doing his own thing. It was almost like he was finishing another mission in a way when we were doing his farewell. It was kind of weird, you know, and as everybody would
I didn't have this.
Yeah, as you can see, he's finished his mission again. He's got a beard and everything, you know, it's freedom all over again. So, no, as we would, you know, ask some missionaries, we're not going to ask you, oh, how was, you know, the MTC, as we've just, you know, been through a little bit of that. But the question I want to ask is, what is the lesson that has come out from the MTC? What have you been taught by the multitude of missionaries that have literally gone through your hands into the mission field? What has the MTC taught you, you know, and left you with in order to continue with this big world, right? I guess you've gone through decision making through your mission, your plans and goals, which led you to being in the MTC. Now, what more to it that the MTC that the MTC gave to you?
Okay, let me start with the missionaries, right? Let me start with the missionaries. I've had, of course, you know, different kinds of missionaries. You have the crazy ones, you have the quiet ones, you know, you have the soft-spoken, the smart ones, you have the, you know, the spoiled ones, you know, you know, all these different kinds of missionaries. And it came for me to really learn to love them differently because they want to be loved in a different way. You know, you can't love everyone the same way, you know. I genuinely didn't believe in that thing of treat someone special because they're a special kid, you know. I treat everyone the same way, right? You know, and so really the missionaries taught me that I need to love them and I need to love them differently because they're different people, right? No matter how crazy a missionary is, you know, you still need to love that missionary because when that missionary can see that you love them, that's when they'll be willing to listen to you. That's when they'll be willing to change, you know, and become what you say, or the promises that you give to them, right? And just create that relationship because when there's a relationship between the two of you, there's a form of trust, right? And when there's trust, and then that person will listen to what you say, right? Another thing I loved about missionaries is learn to relate. You know, as teachers, we went through a mission for 2 years, and we kind of know what a PMG missionary looks like and sounds like, you know, and everything. And sometimes when we teach, we kind of expect the missionaries to grasp that now while they're still at the MTC, you know. And so learning to relate is really going back to your own MTC experience when you were there at the MTC, you know, just looking back and seeing how those 3 weeks were actually, for some people, not enough for them to grasp everything, not enough for them to be these good teachers that you see them, you know, to become. And so really learning to relate to them and also look back to your own experience, right? But besides that, one of the things I used to really teach the missionaries, I guess it also kind of one of the things that I love and I always look back to is this talk by Thomas S. Monson. It's titled Finishers Wanted, April 1972. All right. He says, in here, he says, stick to your task till it sticks to you. Beginners are many, but enders are few. Honor, power, place, and praise will always come to the one who stays. Stick to your task till it sticks to you. Bend at it, sweat at it, and smile at it too. For out of the bend and the sweat and the smile will come life victories after a while. Right. And I guess that's what mission is really learning to stick to one task, you know, until not to do the same thing until it bores you, but to do the same thing until you perfect it or you become way better at it. Right. And so I guess that's one of the things that really is stuck with me now at the MTC. You know, after the MTC, that there are certain things that I still want to make sure I attain these habits and I want to make sure that I stick to them. I continue to do them.
Sure, that's so powerful. And I think, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, part of your role as the teacher will also be able to teach those men and women who come into those, if they're MTC for 3 weeks or 6 weeks or 9 weeks, depending on if it's a language learning mission. And I know some people learning Mandarin can stay there for 9 weeks or so. But
that's too long, so sorry to
I'm sure. Yeah.
9 weeks to them to see now, man.
Too long.
Too long.
9 weeks, yeah. Because you'd see missionaries around week 4. Are they ready to go? They're ready.
That's true.
And mostly
I can imagine.
They would just feel restricted. They would just feel like, I can't go out. I always meet the same face and hear the same voices all the time. I want to go out. Yeah,
which is paradoxical, because you would think 3 weeks, that's nothing, right? You would think, that's such a short time. But in reality, it's like what you're saying, it feels like eternity, to be stuck in a place with those walls, every day. You can't go out really, or you can only go out for 1 hour for a break. But I think it is in that 3 weeks or 6 weeks that a young person learns really to stick to their task, right? To see their missions through to the end, to the end of their 18 months, to the end of their 24 months. Even if, unfortunately, health or other reasons make them not able to finish their 18 or 24 months, it's an anomaly of life, for us to be able to stick through the gospel until the day we die. So I like that. I like the poem you just read by President Monson. I want to ask for the young men in my ward, in other branches, who are looking forward to going on mission, right? That's going to be their starting point. It'll be the MTC. How can they best prepare for that experience, for the MTC experience?
That's a wonderful question. I'm trying to think. A lot of people will say, read Preach My Gospel, read the Book of Mormon, and stuff like that. For a reason, I think it's hard for young men to relate to Preach My Gospel, because they don't really know what a mission is. So you easily get confused by your district council, like, what is that?
Yeah.
So I really think the basics to preparing for a mission is going back to the lessons that the missionaries taught you. Go back to the restoration pamphlet, learn that, that's something that you know already, right? Read the Plan of Salvation pamphlet, read the Gospel of Jesus Christ, right? Get to a norm of personal prayer, right? Meaningful prayer, learning how to talk to God, right? Not I guess when we are young, we get to a norm of, we know how to pray, and so now we kind of have this memorized prayer that we have, that is a bit shallow, like Heavenly Father, please bless my day, or thank you for the day, thank you for my family, all right? But I guess get to a norm of getting personal with Heavenly Father. Don't just thank Him for the day. What is it in the day that you're grateful for? I thank you for the lesson I learned about faith today. So those are the two major things I would say focus on. Getting to know more of having sincere personal, and also just go back to those lessons that you have learned, the restoration, the Plan of Salvation, and the Gospel of Jesus Christ. Read the pamphlets. That's something that you know already. Read it again and again, and then in that way, it'll be easy for you to prepare for your mission.
I want to agree with that so much, because I found, like, you've got missionaries that are converts, and then you got missionaries that are born in the church. And in my classes, I tried to make it seem like I let them know in the beginning that there's no difference between you two, although there are very obvious differences. But I let them know that there's no difference between you two. Like, we're not going to look at each other as, oh, you're higher up than me, you're lower than me, or whatever. But at the end of the day, from wherever they're coming from, whether they were born in the church or converts in the church, coming to the MTC really does actually push them or test them. We had a sister just now, as they're going to be leaving the MTC now, this is their 3rd week. We had a sister just now who says to us, or who said to me, like, so I really don't have a testimony of the Book of Mormon, do I? And we were like, you know, me being as hard as I am, I was like, no, my sister, you don't, you know? But that was the same lesson where we were teaching and talking about how to get one, or helping another person to get one. And so I was just saying to her that, listen, now is the time for you to get one. Yes, you've read the Book of Mormon, you know the contents inside, but do you have a testimony? And she was like, how do I teach if I don't have a testimony? I said, my sister, teaching is going to get you that testimony. You going and qualifying your words with what you're trying to learn through more than thinking that I can't serve my mission if I don't have a testimony. You know, it's now on. It's literally now is the time. I want to say now or never, but it will never get to never. It'll always be now. You know, if you don't have a testimony, you don't believe in something. Well, now is the time to put it to the test. You know, and talking about, you know, faith and testimonies, I told him about Jeffrey Holland's quote that untested faith at all. So you can't tell me that you have faith, but you have faith in the Book of Mormon, but you've never tested it. You've never gone up against somebody who's telling you your book is not true. You know, that is now a time when you're like, hey, is it now? This guy is so convinced that it's not true. Is it really true? And you say, yes, it's true. Whether you're a 2-month-old missionary or an 18-month-old missionary, you know, at the end of the day, you're gonna stand in front of someone. You're gonna have your Goliath that you're gonna have to throw a rock at.
You know, sorry.
Yeah.
Before you ask the question, I see it's coming. You just reminded me of a test I had on mission, where I was challenged on prophets. You know,
Yeah.
If truly I believe or I know that Russell Nelson is a prophet, you know, your Jeffrey Holland, are those really apostles of the Lord?
Mm-hmm.
And just the fact that apostles are always called to prepare the way for Christ, you know, and now that Christ came, you know, there was a thing of, we don't need prophets anymore. You know, that's why they wrote the Bible, so the Bible can help us to prepare for the second coming. So now, why do we have modern prophets? You know,
Yeah.
And it was a test, man. It was tested because, you know, it got me thinking. Well, wow, do I really believe? Do I really know for surety? You know, would I stand and declare that boldly that I do believe that this is a prophet? So I guess that's true. It also reminds me of Korihor in the Book of Mormon,
Yeah.
who says that he was taught by the devil what to teach the people. And he said he taught it so much to the point that he started to believe it. And why would he believe it? Because he would see fruits, you know, that it would bear. And so I guess I really love what you mentioned. If you don't have a testimony yet, learn to teach it. Teach it until you get that testimony. But at the same time, do the work that you invite your people to do. If you invite them to pray, do the same thing.
That's very true. It's like running away from being a hypocrite. You know, you if you don't know it or believe it, go and do it. Mao, you got something, my brother.
Yeah, no, I want to agree with you guys, actually, because I'm thinking, I went on mission. I had a testimony of the Book of Mormon, right?
Mm-hmm.
A pretty strong one. But towards the end of my mission, the conviction I felt towards that book, it was unmatched.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, I mean, to that sister as well, and anybody else who is like her, I think it's exactly true what you guys said. You know, untested faith is not faith at all. And even if 2%, right, take that, right? Go testify at 2%. You do at the end of 6 months, at the end of 3 months, at the end of 18 months, right? What that 2% would have turned into, as you testify what you really know. So, I mean, for me, I was shy. I would never open my mouth to anyone, you know. I would stutter in front of everyone, even in front of a pulpit when I had to bear my testimony. By the end of my mission, sometime during my mission, I was so confident I would walk up to any stranger and say, "You better read this book," right? That's just how strong the conviction came from testing it out. I could stand in front of a king and I would test. So I mean, concur with what you said, that indeed she can gain her testimony on her feet, right, as she's going. I love that. I love that very, very, very much. Jeremy, I don't know if you have a final question. I have a case study. So I don't know if you have a final question before I do that, or if I should jump straight into it.
I think the question I want to ask before we jump into the case study is, I guess, dealing with these people, right? Even for you, Mau, you have a kid who comes to you with a bit of depression, or not fully understanding something, or saying they don't have a testimony, or why should I keep a certain commandment? Kind of like they're coming with secondary questions, if you know what I mean by that, where they're coming and asking these questions that are just they if you got an answer to that, like blindly, it would be able to allow you to go out the back door and disappear, right? But at the end of the day, as well as if you answer them in the right way, you could really bring them back. So my question to you is, how do you, or have you dealt with, whether it's missionaries in the MTC or people, and I guess we find them a lot with missionaries in the MTC. We think that they come in perfect. We think they're going to get out perfect. These people are not perfect. These are people too trying to figure out if I want to go out and actually serve the Lord. But how do we deal with these kinds of people? How do they come into our grasp, and how do we handle them? How fragile can we be, or how harsh should what you guys?
I have to say, definitely there are missionaries that had those kind of questions, and I probably answered the question in a way that really, you didn't make them, just bloom, and why am I saying that? Because I saw the MTC as a place where I had to learn a lot from experience, especially as a new teacher. You put in a situation where a missionary will come to you because they trust you with a situation, that maybe they've had at home, or will come to you with this question, and then, of course, since you're a teacher now, you're expected to just know everything, right? Although, of course, they'll say, no, we know you don't know everything, but the expectation. You're a teacher, man. You can't be a teacher and not know this, So I guess really I had to learn from experience, so as time went by, I feel like that's when growth really started to escalate. That the more I was a teacher at them to see, the more I took my time to understand missionaries, the more I would give really good answers that would help them individually, right? But when I started, definitely I did give answers that were just that are from the top of my mind, and also just with the fact that I got used to missionaries. I served a mission. I was a leader on mission, so I knew how to deal with missionaries, right? And so you kind of learn that. Also, another thing that I also noticed is that there are some questions that missionaries will bring to you based on the gospel, but you actually get, that's not the main question that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, the main question is under that, where it's hidden within that. So sometimes it's very important to say, okay, I hear this question. Why are you asking this question? What is it that you really want to get out from this? Right. And sometimes what do you think the answer is? Because sometimes they do have an answer. They just want you to confirm it for them. Right. And so that has really helped me a lot to be able to say, okay, you have this question. Perfect. Let's talk about it. Why? Why do you want to know this? How is this going to help you? And stuff like that. And so that would really lead to conversations, and also me determining that, oh, this is not the main question. This is the question. Or this is just a question to cover up being troubled by something. This is what troubles them. And then I'll be able to help them, those missionaries, in that way.
Mm-hmm. Just to add to that, I think, I do not know why this is the thought or impression that's coming to me to that question. Maybe it misses the question completely, but the first thought that came to me when that question was asked was fruits of the Spirit, right? And I was thinking something you said as well, Jeremy, on this podcast before. quoting Elder Holland, who said, if you don't have a testimony right now, you can lean on mine, right? Or you can lean on that of your parents, or you can lean on that of the people around you. I think we need to learn, we need to know that sometimes, even if you're not fully convinced, that's okay, right? That anything that invites you and entices you to do good and to be good, the same spirit that brought you to the MTC on a mission, that's a good spirit, right? Whether or not you did it because your parents promised you a car after you get back home, whether or not you're not sure if Joseph was a prophet or not, whether or not you feel like, I'm depressed, why am I even doing this thing? I think just that spirit that drove you to come to this place, which was a good decision, that is good enough. I think we need to recognize that all good comes from God. And sometimes we look around us and somebody is very powerful, say the most brilliant things, and they're prepared, their father was a mission president somewhere, and their grandfather was a temple president, and their great grandfather was a prophet, and and the missionary comes to the MTC environment and they feel like, well, I don't even know if I believe this. I had a missionary who became my very, very good friend. Because we were in the MTC together and we served on the same mission together, and we left around the same time. And he had been a convert for I think less than a year, or about a year, before he came on mission. So he had a lot of those questions, a lot of those doubts, questioning, am I really doing the right thing? I should be in medical school right now. And I was lucky enough and fortunate enough to serve with him and thus see him grow.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful guy. So I think that's maybe also what I would both say to that person, and also maybe think to myself that even if somebody feels less than prepared, or they have underlying questions that border on blasphemy or false doctrine, all that is good comes from God, and even that tiny spirit that led them to come here will be maybe that thing that'll carry them forward. I think I would elevate that, and I'll speak of the Holy Spirit. Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, so I have a case study for you, brethren. Okay, Nathi, as the guest, you will go first, and then Jeremy can add on the end. Okay. So when this is a disclaimer to young men and young women who are yet to go on mission. When you go on in the MTC, these MTC teachers are very cruel. They'll make you do role plays all day, every day.
Nice.
with your companion, you'll do role plays. They'll give you scenarios of real people and real stories that they have seen in their missions, and so you better prepare. And so in a similar fashion, okay. So here's the case study. Sister, I'll call her Naledi, right? Is a member of the church, and this is a real story, by the way. It's something that happened recently to a very dear friend of mine. Member of the church, served a mission, right? Made temple covenants, did all the right things, grew up in a righteous home, righteous parents, family evening every Monday, studying scriptures every day, praying every day, really cream of the earth, really committed to living the gospel. They serve, she comes back, and again, because we are commanded to get married in the temple for time and all eternity, she finds a person that she has prayed about and that God has answered and said, this is the person, right? And has an eternal family with this person, has children, and as life happens, things fall apart, right? Through no choice of or through no choice of her own, right? Just the people involved who use their agency the way they use them. And things end up in divorce, right? And what do you say to this sister if her situation or if her feeling is despondence, right? If she comes to God and says, look, Brother Nocanda, I have tried this gospel thing, right? I've served the Lord, I've done everything, I'm married in the temple, and still, right, things did not work out as I'd hoped. Why should I continue to live the gospel? Like, why would I continue? Right? It's obviously not working out.
Yeah.
What do you tell that sister or that brother who can be in the situation? What do you tell them?
I'm thinking of Brad Wilcox, "Grace is sufficient to save." In his talk, he speaks about playing a piano. You know, he mentions of when someone learns to play piano, you know, we don't give them the piano today so that tomorrow they can perform. You know, we give them the piano today so they can gradually progress. All right. And this person is definitely going to make mistakes. You know, you're going to press the wrong key. But when you press the wrong key, you don't stop, you continue. It's like if you're playing a hymn, you know, during sacrament, if you play that hymn and then you press the wrong key, you don't stop playing the hymn. You continue, you know, or at least you wait for another verse and then you start again. All right. And again, just thinking back on that, I guess that's the same thing that we, you know, there's going to be a way. If you don't find that way now, you'll find it later. But there's going to be a way. But the gospel is all about trying until you find that perfect match, trying until you find who you are, learn who you are, learn what you're looking for, right? And I guess there are so many things, of course, that you're going to learn from failure, right? And I'm saying this because I have there's a sister, I'm not going to say the name, that works here at the MTC. You know, me and Jeremy are very good, let me say friends, you know, friends with her, right? And she has kind of gone through the same experience of, you know, I thought this would be a perfect family. You know, I had all of this idea and we got married and things just didn't work out, right? The way that I thought, you know. And now because things didn't work out the way that I thought, I don't go back to God and say, well, this is what you gave to me and it didn't work out. So, you know, I'm done with this thing, right? But it's more about what else can you give me, you know, or maybe, you know, what is it that I did not learn? What is it that I did not notice, you know, during this time, right? What are things that I saw that were red flags, but I still neglected that led to this? There's a lot of growth. And sometimes it's not about what is that I saw that I neglected, but also is what did the person do to me? You know, that was definitely, you know, something that I would want to happen again, right? Mm-hmm. And so now when I'm looking for someone else, you know, what are those things that I want to make sure? What are those conversations I want us to have to make sure that, well, this, you know, is guaranteed that's never going to happen again? Try, you know, just like the piano, continue playing, all right? Take a different approach, learn new things, all right? Give people a chance. Give people a chance. Just because this one treated you badly doesn't mean the second one is also going to do the same, all right? Give people an opportunity. And just, I guess, in closing of that, a reminder, Jeffrey Holland mentions that we all walk in this gospel like drunk people, stumbling and falling. But at the end of the day, we all have one purpose. I want to sleep in my bed. So no matter how many times you stumble and fall, you take 2 steps forward and 3 steps back, or go left and right. The purpose at the end of the day, I want to sleep in that bed. It's softer than this ground that I'm falling on. Right? So stumble and fall until you get to that bed, you know, and have a nice rest. Right.
Love that. Love it.
I'm sitting and thinking and just like, wow, the part that comes to me is the plan of salvation. But my issue is I struggle to admit to someone that maybe this is part of the plan. You know, I think that's something that's the last thing people want to hear, is that this is part of the plan. But the other part that we need to remember is we're also working with the agency of others. When somebody is in agreement with the law and the word of God and his plans, then they fall within that revelation that this is a good person to marry. But if that person decides to fall slightly, ever so slightly in the gospel, to which he ends up on a, you know, the individual, whether male or female, ends up on a downhill of the gospel, that's going to affect the other spouse who's trying to do right and be good. And so that when I say now part of the plan of salvation is, it's that part of learning, like Nathi is saying, where you have to learn and see, well, that didn't work. What do we do now? But my advice, honestly and deeply, is to heal as well. I think the one thing that we really struggle with, we do believe that even though we've gone through this thing, just go on to the next thing. I believe in that as well. I believe that go on to the next thing, go and do something. Because if you don't do anything, then you're gonna get yourself into a deeper rabbit hole. But in the process of looking for something to do, don't be shy to take quiet times and times off to say, I need to heal. I need to think about what I'm doing. I need to, put a bit of a plan to the next, part of my life, because it's scary. Going out into the world with an open wound is scary, because somebody touched it and you're going to cry. You're going to scream. You're going to react. So you need to take time to heal. But I also say that in the next relationship, or in a relationship that you're going to get into next, you obviously gaining trust in that person. But once you gain trust in that person, confide in them and heal with them. Allow them to be a part of that. Because we were learning with Nathi just the other day. We're listening to a discussion between Steve Bartlett and Simon Sinek. And Simon Sinek was saying that when we don't allow people to serve us, we are taking away the honor, that they can receive in serving us. It's selfish to not ask people to help you, because they don't get to have the happiness or the joy or the honor of serving you. You coming out and saying, hey, can you help me? That's an act of humility, one, for you. And it's an act of trust in them. That's you testing your trust in that person, right? So untested faith is not faith at all. You could say the same with trust. Untested trust is not trust at all, by asking this person to help you to close this wound. So I do say, go on to the next thing. I say, go and get it. Go and, be, the best person you can be, but also take the time to heal, because you can't go around bleeding on everyone else. You're going to hurt yourself and everyone more. So I do pray for this person, that they are on a better path and they're working towards these things. I think we don't really talk about these in such detail as much as we should, to which we can apply. We apply what the world has to offer us, the world doctrine plus or versus the gospel doctrine, and how do they coincide? How do I make use of what the world has to offer with the gospel understanding or gospel knowledge? What does healing mean in terms of the gospel of Jesus Christ? How does the atonement now assist me in gaining the power and the strength to move on? Those are things that I think we need to talk a little bit more about when it comes to these situations that people are going through, because the world is getting worse and worse, and hurt more and more hurt, if I can say it like that. So yeah.
Sure. This has been fun. This has been very enlightening. And for our friends who watch behind their screens or listen on their car radios to this podcast, we hope that those words encourage you to heal whatever is broken, or whatever has been broken by either yourself or someone else. Take time to heal and learn to know that God knows you, all right? And he knows the plan, and you're not doing anything wrong. Just because things go wrong does not mean you are doing anything wrong. Keep on moving, keep on going forward, get up, stumble towards that place, towards your home, but make sure that you fall on your bed. Make sure that you're not caught on the street. Make sure that however you get home, get home. And we'd like to thank Nathi for joining us, and taking his time to be with us. And we hope that your next journey, as currently being a take-a-lot deliverer, hopefully you give us some freebies, man. Come on. I'm sure it's allowed to give those you like some free stuff and say, they got lost, they got robbed. You know, you can tell you got robbed. But yeah, even in your next journey, man, we hope and we know that things will work out as they have as well. Any last words on both Nathi, Jeremy, before we close it off?
Definitely. The first thing that I just want to mention is you mentioned a lot about the young men and young women who are looking to go on mission. I've really been drawn to a lot of people that would meet to be like, hey, and I'm thinking of going to school first, on mission and stuff like that. I guess one of the things that we don't talk about when we talk about mission is the skills that people get in terms of career. All right. On my mission, when I got my mission certificate, you see that there are skills like your budget management, your finance, your goal setting and stuff like that. All right. I think it's very important that we share that with those people. That actually, if you go on mission will prepare you to become the best in business, will prepare you to become the best in your career in terms of, learning how to study, right, and getting into a norm of study, right? And so I just want to share that with those, young men and young women, that mission is not just about only spiritually, but actually it benefits you in terms of giving you these certain skills, these life skills that you need to become the best in your career, right? Another thing I wanted to mention from the discussion we just had about the scenario is learning how to deal with anger is very important, because anger is this feeling that we feel it and we just don't know how to deal with it. Some people would punch, some people just go get silence, and stuff like that. All right. Learn how to deal with anger properly, all right, so that does not affect people around you, because sometimes people have so much bad experiences that when they have that anger, they just show it in a very, cruel way. And so learning how to deal with anger. Then lastly, this is I feel like I speak a lot. This is the last thing. Let's always reflect on that there are certain challenges that come because of different. Let me say. That the first reason that we face challenges is because we make bad decisions. The second reason we face challenges is because other people make bad decisions that affect us.
Right.
The third reason that we face challenges is natural things, your disasters, like what's happening in Durban and stuff like that. The fourth reason we face challenges is because we pray for them. I pray to God, help me have patience. And God's like, well, definitely I'm going to give you a challenge. Wow, so you can learn patience, right? And so it's very important for us when we face a challenge, let's try sometimes to think, did I pray for this? Did this come from my bad decisions? Did this come from this person's bad decision? And now if I'm able to recognize that, how do I then continue to find a purpose from this? Because I feel like that's the most important thing. I've lost purpose because this has been disastrous. How can I find new purpose? What is it that I don't want to lose at this time and moment that I have in my life that I can cling on, right? And so really just recognize, why is this challenge? Did I pray for this? Did this come from this, And also just learn how to find new purpose and deal with anger.
Man, he just wanted to shambok us with the last words. Last words where he took it seriously. My last words was, yeah. It's my time.
Yeah. I love it.
No, it's amazing.
Yeah, no, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you once again. This has been fruitful. I don't have last words. I'm gonna let your last words be my last words. And thank you for availing yourself. I sustain 100%, my leader. I just once again thank you. Dude, I love you. You know the story. It's just been amazing to share a place with you and to work with you in the MTC. You've taught me a lot and you've helped me a lot. And anyone who comes and talks to you about things, they're gonna get a sufficient amount of information on it. I know that for sure.
Thank you.
Just one last thing to add before we we leave, as our outro is, I can hear it right now. Just for our friends, if you know someone while you're listening to this episode, if you know someone that you feel this can be beneficial to, if not yourself, please share. All right, share, like, comment, subscribe. It's really your comments and your DMs that inform the conversations we have and the people, that we ask to be guests on our podcast. So yeah, just remember to share if something resonates with you that is said here. All right, sweet. All right, and cut.